What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back in the video. It's Monday, so you know time, and it's time for the mock draft Monday. We did Superflex last week, back to normal this week. We're gonna do full PPR, 3 wide receiver, a much more popular format recently. So we'll do 3 wide receiver, 1 flex spot, but again, no super flex this week. And we'll do the 10 pick. I don't know, we did 8 last week. We'd done a little bit earlier before. 10 pick kind of felt right, and then we'll keep everything the same for the bottom there. So bring up the board. Running backs that go: McCaffrey, Breece Hall, and Bijan. That makes sense. Lamb, Hill, Chase, St. Brown, Jefferson, Garrett Wilson, also off the board. So a little bit of a difficult spot for us in 3 wide receiver. Of course, again, put our strategy hats on. Whenever we're thinking about formats, what are we looking for in our starting lineup? 3 wide receiver, full PPR, and a flex spot. My goal every week should be to start 4 wide receivers. So I want to have 4, probably 5 wide receivers I feel good about, and I want really high upside wide receivers as well. We miss out on that top tier wide receiver, which is unfortunate, but we will have an opportunity to potentially double dip at this next tier. So still, decent chances for us here. So high drafted players. If we're looking at running back, my top ranked running back right now is Jahmyr Gibbs, but I have him at 12 in this format. And again, I do have 3 wide receiver rankings on the website for half PPR and full PPR. So I have them up here right now. But if you play in a 3 wide receiver league, I have specific rankings for that. But yeah, Gibbs is at 12 here. I would definitely consider him with the next pick. But for this one, we're at 10. I'm not going to reach for running back in a format that favors wide receiver. So we should take our top wide receiver or consider the ADP game. Unfortunately, ADP game not going to probably help us much here. They are projecting, 94% chance Puka does go. I have it Puka, then AJ Brown with an okay gap. I mean, it's an 8-point gap, so a decent difference there. I do feel better about Puka. If you wanted to and you wanted to try and play the ADP game, say there's no way AJ Brown falls, maybe there's a chance Puka does. I don't think either one of them is making it to you at the next pick. So I'm going to take Puka, and then we will go from there. We take Puka. AJ Brown goes in the next pick. I'm sure Puka would have gone the next pick had he not gone. AJ Brown goes, Harrison goes, and then we get JT and Gibbs also off the board. So top running back right now I have as Saquon at 14, so 1 pick of value there. Right after him, I do have Adams, and it is kind of that drop off. London is kind of in that same tier, but it's like Adams and London, then a mini drop off into like Olave, Ayuk, Evans in half PPR, not really Evans in this format. Maybe you can throw Pittman in there as well in full PPR, but I would say Adams I just like a little bit more than everyone else on this list right now. I feel pretty locked in about him in full PPR. I don't want to go with tight end, even if tight ends kind of project okay in this range. I just have to wait until round 3 to take a tight end. I just think there's too good of value in round 2 to take tight end. So no tight end. Same thing with quarterback. Even if a quarterback's going to project okay in this range, I mean, I don't have him projected okay, but some people will. It's just rounds 1 and 2 have got to be, in non-super flex, non-tight end premium. There's got to be running back, wide receiver for me. So the decision comes down to Saquon or Adams, and that really comes down to how comfortable you are going heavy into wide receiver. I am comfortable doing that. I think we can still get some rock solid options later on. So I think in 3 wide receiver, it benefits us a lot more. Take Adams here, pass on Saquon. So I'll pull up the roster over here. We've got Puka and we've got Adams, again, 3 wide receiver and a flex. We're still good. Next round, I'll pull up the draft board. We can see who went. So 2 tight ends come off the board right before our pick. I would have definitely considered Sam Laporta at that spot. I'm not really considering, I have McBride at 39. So not like a bad pick here, but we wouldn't be going there. So those 2 go, Laporta and Kelsey. We see after us, Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts come off the board. And then a pretty even split at running back and wide receiver. The ones we talked about: Pittman, Olave, London, Ayuk, Diggs, Evans, and more. And then decent amount of running backs, honestly. Saquon, Etienne, Kyron, Achane, Jacobs, Rashad White, and Alvin Kamara. Definitely too early for Kamara. I understand full PPR though. So we're not going to go McBride. The reasons I talked about a second ago. A little bit early for him. Don't really want to go with quarterback here. Would have like considered that top end. So would have considered Hurts, considered Allen. They would have been decent picks. Lamar's not a bad pick here. There's like a lot of quarterbacks. I usually prefer being in love with the quarterback. Here's the thing. I'd be good drafting Allen and Hurts, just like in general drafting. Mahomes, obviously good with drafting. Lamar, Stroud, love Anthony Richardson. Joe Burrow's a great value this season. Dak Prescott, Kyler Murray's a great value. Jordan Love, Brock Purdy, I think are pretty much locks to have really, really strong seasons. So you've got 11 quarterbacks there. Someone at some point is going to be a really good pick for us when we don't love other options. So, for us to be looking at the board and still seeing some very, very good players at running back and wide receiver, I think I'd prefer to keep going at those positions. We'll head back to quarterback when we don't like the value at these other two. So if we're looking at, running back here, in half PPR, you'd be looking at Derrick Henry as pretty much a clear pick above this group. They'll use Derrick Henry in the receiving game, but not nearly as much as, Pacheco and James Cook are going to be used. So my guess is those guys I have ranked ahead, and I do. At least Pacheco. So James Cook, I still have a couple of points behind Derrick Henry, but I have Pacheco ahead of Derrick Henry, and I really like him this season. So we'll start Pacheco for now. You look at his splits. I mean, he got overloaded with touches when McKinnon was not on the team last year, or not on the team, I guess not playing last year with injury. Don't think he's going to play this season. I think McKinnon is done with Kansas City, probably in the NFL as well. They just don't have anyone. Like CEH is a bust. That's pretty much guaranteed at this point. They're talking about what, like Keontae Ingram or something like that. They're talking about him as potential. Like, no. Pacheco's going to get a lot of touches. He's going to get a lot of touches in the receiving game as well. The offense, I think, could be better than last season. Like, there's a lot of indicators to where it's like you're getting a really strong value of getting Pacheco in this round 3 range on Underdog. I think he goes closer to round 4. That's a great pick as well. I have him as like equal value right now. We're reaching technically one spot for him, but having taken 2 wide receivers, our slight lean shifts over to running back right now. So I think Pacheco is a really strong pick. If we don't go with Pacheco, top wide receiver on the board is Waddle. It's very close. I mean, it's Waddle, it's DJ Moore, or it's Nico. So it's everyone they have right now. Board to turn, right? We've got only 4 picks that are going to go by between this pick and the next one. So if I don't really care between, like I have leans, right? I would prefer Waddle, then Nico, then Debo, but I'm cool with any of those 3. And if it happens that I miss out and I end up with Neighbors, cool, right? I'm cool with any of those 4. And I don't think it's going to be 4 wide receivers that go. Much better off taking the running back you have ranked higher. Maybe we double dip at running back as well, but that's a decision that we can make. I feel great about Pacheco. I would much rather take him and see what we get. So after us, Nico and Waddle do go, unfortunately. Mahomes goes off the board and Derrick Henry as well. So 4 very strong picks at the turn there. So we're up. Pull up our roster here again. Pacheco, running back. We've got Puka and we've got Devonta Adams. James Cook is, I would say, I don't want to say clearly in a tier of his own, but clearly James Cook and Mixon drop off into Walker, Aaron Jones, Stevenson, Montgomery, mini drop off kind of into like James Conner, Swift, probably another drop off into Zamir, Pollard, Warren, Williams, Harris, Mostert, Spears, Eckler, like all of them. So I view James Cook a good chunk above the group here. I have him. Wow. Oh, okay. I did the math wrong in my head. I thought it was 20 spots. It's only like 8 spots ahead of, or 8 projection points ahead of Mixon. It's a lot of players because there's a lot of players like in this general range right now. But James Cook, then Mixon, and like, James Cook I have at 46. We're at 39. So again, in this format, It's a slight reach, but I think it could make sense for us. I think Debo I have at 45. Also pretty strong pick there. Neighbors I do have ahead. Part of me wants to risk it with Neighbors. We talked about this, I believe it was last week as well. Just ECR is a little bit lower on Neighbors than I am, especially in a full PPR format. And so I kind of like, with him being way down here, if we pull up our quote unquote ADP, he's kind of far down here. Maybe there's a chance we can get him at the next pick if teams kind of shift over to, because tight end is strong right now. McBride, Mark Andrews, Kincaid. You've still got some great options at quarterback, and these are players I'd also be good with getting in round 5. So I think it's worth the risk. But this is an inflection point. Definitely let me know in the comment section what you think with this one. My lean is don't take Neighbors. Take one of Debo or James Cook. If we don't get Neighbors at the next one, we're obviously not getting Cook or Debo, but we can look to some of these really quality quarterbacks. We can look to McBride or Andrews. If they're still on the board, I think that's the play. And then hopefully Neighbors is still there, and maybe we can go James Cook and then Neighbors, but consolation prize to some of those other players. Definitely possible everyone goes, but I think that's the route I want to go with. Yeah. I think I want to do that, but if you wanted to take Debo, I think that's completely fine. I think it benefits our team more taking this chance. Yeah, take the chance. Hope we can get Neighbors, and we'll see what happens. We don't get Neighbors, unfortunately, but we still have really good options at our consolation prizes. So Neighbors goes. He goes at the 503, so didn't really even come close to making it back to us. A lot of wide receivers come on the board. So Debo after us. Only Lamar goes at quarterbacks. That's something to keep in mind. But yeah, no tight ends come off the boards. We're probably going to take a tight end this pick. We got Debo, Metcalf, Kupp, Allen, Devonta Smith, Flowers, Rashee Rice, Dell, Neighbors, Cooper, Higgins, Christian Kirk. Again, it's a format that favors wide receiver. Maybe we should have gone wide receiver at that pick, but I think just like given that it's full PPR as well, like Pacheco and James Cook are just such high upside running backs this season. Already having Puka and Adams, I felt comfortable with it. But we got to stop at running back now. So we're not going to take a running back this pick. Running backs that do go are Mixon, Ken Walker, Aaron Jones, Swift, and Zamir White. So if you needed running back at this spot, like Stevenson would be solid, Montgomery less solid, James Conner less solid. You'd probably go with Stevenson at this pick, but we're definitely not going to do that. If you wanted to go wide receiver, we kind of hit, honestly, the drop off. Honestly, we hit it exactly. Everyone that I kind of just mentioned, Pickens has significant upside. I'm a little bit scared with Pickens. So in the projections, at least in half PPR, Hammond's a really strong pick. Full PPR, 56, so he should basically be going in this range, and we'll definitely consider him. What do I have between him and McLaurin? McLaurin after, so we can start the both of them, but it would be Pickens over McLaurin. My one fear is, if we knew this current team was what we're getting in week 1, I'd be all over Pickens at this spot. He'd be a really, really strong pick. I have a worry that they're going to go after someone, whether it's a trade, whether it's just free agency bringing someone else in. I don't know. I feel like they're not done because it feels like, how can you be done? Do you really trust Roman Wilson as your wide receiver 2? Him or Calvin Austin? No, right? There's no way either of those two should be a wide receiver 2, which is why I would love Pickens if he was actually the clear one and they don't bring anyone else in. I just have concerns that they are going to trade for someone that's not in a great role. I don't know who that's going to be. Is it on the low end and it's someone like Treylon Burks? Is it on the high end where it's someone I don't think Cincy would end up trading Higgins to the Steelers, right? Interdivision there. I don't think that would happen. But I don't know. I feel like there are options, and I'm just a little bit hesitant. That's all. But we could go with him. Better pick, though, might be attacking tight end. I have Trey McBride at pick 39. We're at 58. So Trey McBride is a phenomenal value. At quarterback, I have CJ Stroud a little bit ahead of Anthony Richardson at 40 and 43. My thought is here, can we attempt to build a super team? Can we go with McBride? We get one of Stroud or Richardson the next round because we would. This team already has Mahomes, and no one's going to double dip. So we're guaranteed one of those two, which is why you wouldn't take one at this spot. So we're going to get one of Stroud or Richardson at round 6. And if we can have, what I think could be, a top 5 quarterback with a top 3, potentially number 1 tight end, along with double wide receiver, double running back, we are building a really, really strong starting lineup. We'd want to try and hit on some wide receivers after that. We'd probably want to take a break at running back, hope that those two work out, overload, maybe like 3 consecutive wide receivers after that. But this would allow us to, for the rest of the draft, focus on hitting on those options, focus on high upside running backs, later on focus on some wide receivers we like. I don't know. It feels like that's a really strong upside play, and it's a better upside play than taking Pickens or McLaurin at this pick. So I'm going to do it. I'm going to take Trey McBride. We're going to see which quarterback we get. Richardson goes, Mark Andrews goes, Hollywood Brown, and George Pickens. So we will take CJ Stroud at this next pick. And I love Anthony Richardson, but I do have Stroud ranked. What's the projection even? Four spots. So, I mean, realistically, that's like 2 carries for Anthony Richardson. So they're very, very close to each other. And, okay, that's good. We got great timing here. Kincaid goes, Evans goes, and then a run does happen at quarterback. Kyler, Dak, Burrow, Purdy, Love, all off the board. Only a few wide receivers. McLaurin, Godwin, Ridley, and Laviconki, so ones that we definitely like, and then a ton of running back. So that worked out for us. We didn't really want running back at this pick. We definitely didn't want quarterback, and that's basically what came off the board after us. I think that definitely worked out. So we're going wide receiver at this pick. We're double dipping at wide receiver. I know it's not a term, but we're double dipping at wide receiver. So why don't I pull up the wide receiver specific rankings just so I can see things a little bit more clearly. We are in this general range. Deontay. Deontay is the top player in the rankings. After Deontay, it would be Jaden Reed, and it's only by 2 full PPR points, which is like 1 catch. What do they have for wide receivers? They each have 3, certainly possible they take one. Questioning the ADP game. If we don't end up with it, Adunze would be a fine consolation prize. Addison would be fine as well. Okay. Do I play the ADP game, take Jaden Reed, hope that Deontay is there, and be really happy with that? Or do I just take Deontay? I mean, okay, here's the thing. I love Deontay. I have him ranked ahead of most people, but I still only have it as a 2-point difference between him and Jaden Reed. So given that, like if it was like a 15-point difference in the projection, I'd be like, take my guy. If he's my guy and I still only have him a little bit ahead of someone who I'm probably honestly a little bit behind ADP on Jaden Reed, the play probably is to play the ADP game because I'm actually not, even if I like Deontay that much, I'm actually not missing out on that many points of projection taking the chance. So take Jaden Reed, cross our fingers. Why we can't get any of the risks we take in this draft. They've just not worked out. He goes, unfortunately. Jonathan Williams, Tyler Spears, we don't care about that going, but Hopkins and Deontay Johnson do come off the board. So we lose 2 picks of value or 2 overall points of value across the whole season. It is what it is, right? That's what, like a 1/10 of a point per week. We're okay missing out on that value. So those 2 come off the board. I have Adunze and Addison effectively tied right now. I don't think there's a chance that, I don't really think there's a chance that Adunze is going to be there at the next pick. So who do we like in this build? I'll pull up the roster. I like this team a lot. Okay, here's the team again. Stroud, Pacheco, James Cook, Puka, Adams, Jaden Reed, Trey McBride. I think that's awesome. I love this start. I would say I'm trying to think basically of risk. Do I want a more risky player, higher upside, or someone who is safer? I feel like I kind of have the safety locked in. Puka's going to be good. Adams is going to be good. Jaden Reed, I think is going to be good. I don't know that he has significant upside given how good I think Wicks is, if Watson is back. I think it's going to be Dobbs. It's kind of like kicked out a little bit. I think I want ceiling, though. That's just like the player that I am. I prefer going for the high upside pick. And to me, that's a Dunze. I get the upside take for Addison. And again, it's a 0.8 point difference. But I think Dunze has a little bit more upside. He is a phenomenal player. What if it comes out that, like, maybe he's already better than DJ Moore. Maybe Keenan Allen takes a step back and Dunze's their one and Bryce hits, right? I say Bryce or Bryce Young. if Caleb Williams hits, I think that has more upside than Addison, who we saw with Jefferson healthy last season, did not have any sort of real ceiling, especially when Hawkinson comes back. I don't know that McCarthy's going to go in there and like light the world on fire. But you know what? It's a 50-50. What are they saying the odds? Yeah, they're saying 82% chance that Dunze is gone. At the next pick, 99%. So if you wanted to play the ADP game for this one, you can. I personally I just like Dunze a little bit more. So I'm going to take Dunze. I don't think either one of them would have been there at the next pick. No quarterbacks or tight ends going to the board. At this point, we want to see that happening, but you understand basically everyone has a quarterback. We will see a tight end run at some point, but unfortunately, a bunch of running backs and wide receivers do come off the board, basically an even split for each of those. So no tight end or quarterback for us. Top running backs are Zach Moss, handcuffs. I mean, it's Zach Moss, it's Charbonnet, it's Chuba. We don't really want either of those two. Gibson's fine, but it's the upside like backups that we want. Corum, Kendre Miller, although not as good in full PPR. But pull up the rankings. I feel like Zach Moss is kind of like, they have him in a tier of his own. I feel like I do as well. Yeah, given what's left on that board right now, I have Zach Moss at 165.8 for the projections. My goodness, I'm looking for the next player, and we're in like the 130s for the projections. So Moss in a very clear tier of his own. Don't see that as the case at wide receiver a lot. Well, kind of do with Jameson Williams, but we'll just cross our fingers and hope we can get Jameson Williams at the next pick. But there are some still good options at wide receiver. This is kind of a no-brainer. You just kind of have to take Zach Moss at this pick. We'll pull up running back, and we will take Zach Moss. Looks like no wide receivers actually went at this turn here. So after we take Moss, Gibson, McLaughlin, and Kendre Miller, and then someone got a really good value on Pitts at the 9-12. So we're up again. Corum, believe it or not, is the next projected. Yeah, he's the next projected player. A little bit ahead of, actually a bit ahead of Chuba. A little bit ahead. Actually, him and Charbonnet are close to tied. So it's Charbonnet and Blake Corum are two running back options. But again, we probably want to start 4 wide receivers, so I don't know that the value isn't really going there. I like Corum a lot, but I don't know what the value is going with Corum here. At wide receiver, it's Jameson, it's Downs to rack up receptions. It is Curtis Samuel. I'm getting a little bit of a weird feeling about him, but Curtis Samuel, fine. Jacoby Myers, Keon Coleman, but I'll pull up the wide receiver rankings. The upside for Jameson Williams as the clear number 2 wide receiver on this team, even in full PPR, like he's a really, really strong pick. But to my surprise, and something I should take note of here, Keon Coleman is my top player. Wow. So I am behind ADP on Keon Coleman. It's another situation. Wow, it's actually a 20-point gap in the projection for full PPR, which I suppose in my mind makes sense given that Jameson Williams is never going to rack up a ton of receptions. His upside is coming through these big plays. Keon Coleman's probably going to have a decent target share on that team. But I'm behind ADP on Keon Coleman, and he's still the top-ranked wide receiver. I'm slightly ahead of ADP on Jameson Williams. He is not the top-ranked wide receiver. He's the second wide receiver. Whenever that happens, you want to take the player. Helps me a little bit more knowing if I'm ahead or below, but you kind of want to think like, okay, I've talked semi-negatively about Keon Coleman at times, and that's baked into the projection. So if you're using the rankings and he ever becomes the top player by what is a good chunk here, you should take him, because I'm baking in my negative feelings about Keon Coleman, and it still says take him. If I'm wrong on Coleman, it doesn't mean he's a bad pick here. It means he's a phenomenal pick. So either he's the top ranked player in my rankings, making him a decent pick, or he's a great pick. So he's either decent or great. Take a player when the decision is either decent or great. Oh, and we're going to get nice. We're going to get Blake Corum at this pick as well. So a few tight ends go off the board: Njoku, Ferguson, George Kittle, a couple running backs: Charbonnet, Chandler, Dowdle, Algier, Chuba, and some wide receivers. A lot of them. I'm not going to name all of them, but Williams does go off the board. Downs does go off the board. Curtis Samuel does go off the board. Someone that does not get drafted, though, actually Cooks is a good pick here, but Brandon Cooks is on the board, but Blake Corum. And when I look at the rest of these players, like it's Corum, it's Lloyd, it's the upside of Jalen Wright. It's basically taking shots on some of these rookies. But Corum, I think, clearly has more upside. You've got these foot issues for Kyren Williams, which I think are a little bit overblown, but they drafted him as the clone. If Kyren ever misses time, which he has historically, you're getting a running back 1 in Blake Corum in those weeks. That is far too much upside to pass up. I think that both him and Brandon Cooks are strong picks here. We can pull up our roster and kind of think about it a little bit, but I feel good enough about Puka, Adams, Jaden Reed, Adunze, Coleman to take a chance not getting Brandon Cooks there. You have to take the value at this spot of Blake Corum. So we'll take Blake Corum. Cooks does come off the board, unfortunately, at the turn. It's Cooks, Shakir, Brock Bowers, and Roshan, but it is totally worth taking that spot there. So let's go back to wide receiver. Who do we like? I have the wide receiver rankings up here. Thinking about it, Shaheed, obviously he's not as good in full PPR, but he is with Palmer. So it's Palmer and Shaheed are my top 2 ranked players right now. It is Palmer a hair ahead of Shaheed. Palmer does kind of fit the scoring format a little bit better. And Wicks. Wicks, though, not top ranked, but we'd love to get Wicks at the next pick. So if we can grab, I'll probably go with Palmer. Again, fits the format a little bit more nicely. What if Ladd McConkey isn't as good as everyone thinks, and that Palmer goes out there, is the most targeted player? I know they're hyping up Quentin Johnston, but he just seems a complete bust. He needs to take a massive step forward this season. He could be the one, and you're getting the one at pick, at the 60th wide receiver in the 12th round. So I think we go with Palmer. We hope for Wicks at the next pick. Maybe if one of those running backs is there, we take them. But I think Palmer is the play. Wicks is on the board, only one of those running backs. We are going to have a choice at this spot. Players that go, and we only have 3 picks left, and then defense. So let's think about that a little bit too. But a lot of tight ends go, some defenses go, a few quarterbacks go. But unfortunately, Marshawn Lloyd goes off the board. Marshawn Lloyd, Tyron Tracy, good pick there. And then Khalil Herbert, and then a few wide receivers as well, including Rashid Shaheed. So Wicks is still available. Did we end up drafting? We drafted Jaden Reed, didn't we? We did draft Jaden Reed. What was the pick at that spot? Okay, so looking back, and maybe this is actually a good thing to keep in mind. I love Wicks. We're probably going to end up with Wicks in a lot of leagues. I should have gone with Deontay at that pick. Given how much I like Deontay, it's less valuable. In Underdog, sure, go for it. In a redraft league, it's less valuable drafting Jaden Reed and Wicks. You can do it for sure, but it's a little bit less valuable. So we'll take a chance not getting Wicks here, and we'll probably take Jalen Wright. But it's less valuable. So I should have known that in the back of my mind, that I'm probably going to end up in a situation where I'm targeting Wicks. I'm better off sticking with Deontay and then going Wicks instead of having Reed and now have Wicks who kind of conflict with each other. So a blunder that we wish we could go back and fix, but not too bad. We'll end up going with Jalen right here. Oh, again, I'll pull up the team just to see our count here. So we've got Puka, Adams, Reed, Adunze, Coleman, and Palmer. So we've got 6 wide receivers. We've got Pacheco, James Cook, Moss, and Blake Corum. So it's 6 and 4. We can definitely afford to go with Jalen right here. And it's just an upside play. Achane and Mostert could easily have like all the touches early in the season. Wright could have absolutely nothing. It's a play on, does Mostert get hurt for like his 50th consecutive season? Does Achane suffer an injury? Does Wright play himself onto the field? There's a lot of outcomes there. And if Wright is the running back 2 at any point, we're considering him at our running back 2 spot, given, how good of a player I think he is, but also just the offense. You could literally throw anyone else out there at running back 2. They're going to be productive on this offense. So it's a high upside handcuff. That's truly all it is. You want to overload with high upside handcuffs. So we take that as a 5th running back. My gut says, unless there's a running back that stands out to us, you just double dip at wide receiver here. Because again, if we're planning to start 4 of them and only start 2 running backs, we already have 3 bench running backs and 3 good running backs that, I like Moss, I like Corum, I like Wright. We don't need to have more running backs than that. So I think we're kind of locked in there. Just keep taking wide receivers, trying to hit it upside. I suppose the case for taking Wicks with Reed is one of them is probably going to hit. One of them is probably going to have a really, really strong season. And so do I just invest 2 picks here? I suppose it would be round 13 and round 7. Do you spend a late 7th and an early 14th round pick on securing one really strong Packers wide receiver? Maybe that's worth doing. Curious your all thoughts on that one. If we didn't go with him, Polk would definitely be an option for us. Pearsall, if you're hoping that, maybe they sign Ayuk and they trade away Debo, Pearsall becomes that wide receiver too. There's not a whole lot else to like. Wandale in full PPR. How do I have the projections? Curious on the Wicks. Yeah. So Wicks, I do kind of have, I don't want to say clearly ahead of Polk, but a decent chunk ahead of Polk. But it's Wicks, then Polk, then Pearsall, then Burton, if Burton is still available. Burton. So we'll want 2 of this range on. I was looking for Wandale as well. Wandale's behind even Burton, so we probably won't end up going with Wandale. I don't know. I think we'll just do it. We'll just say, try to capture. I think Wicks is going to be good. Try and capture that. Grab Wicks, and then grab. Oh, Polk does go. I did not think Polk was going to come off the board, so maybe the play was to grab Polk and then see if Wicks is there. But the difference between Polk and Pearsall is 2 points in the projection. So we're fine taking a little bit of a discount at that spot. And then we'll take, I'm assuming the Jets are going to have a quality defense again this season. So we'll take the Jets defense and we got here. I like the team. I think this is a really, really strong team, especially with just how much upside is in this starting lineup, right? Like Stroud, Pacheco, James Cook, Puka, Adams, Jaden Reed, McBride, Adunze, and the Jets defense with a really strong bench. Moss, Keon Coleman, Corum, Palmer, Wright, Wicks, Pearsall. We went pretty heavy young, but it's another situation where like almost no starting lineup. We only have Adunze as the rookie. You don't want to overload rookies too much. So we have Adunze, and then a decent amount of our bench is rookies. But these are rookies in roles we know are locked in. We know Adunze is going to be good on Chicago. We know Keon Coleman is probably going to be the most targeted wide receiver on Buffalo. Even if I'm not sold on the talent, that was a great value pick there. And then the running backs are just handcuffs, right? They're just, if there's an injury, these guys launch basically into our starting lineup. So I think that's a really, really strong team. Curious again. I feel like I want to check this each week if And I still don't show up. I am not one of the teams that shows up each week as having it as the best team. But I mean, I guess, you know, the best ones had these at like 94 to 96. But one week, actually did happen like 3 weeks ago. But one week, I'm gonna show up as one of the people who likes the team the most. Okay. Let me know what you guys think of the team in the comment section down below. What picks you would have made differently. Tomorrow, live 6:30 Eastern. I'm going to do an underdog draft. Come with any questions. You have literally any question for me. I'm answering all of those on stream. And then Wednesday, I don't remember what the video is, but there will be a Wednesday video this week. But that, my friends, is in this one. If you watched this far, be sure to hit the like button. Subscribe while you're down there. Thanks for watching.